Uncle Joe kind of, eh?
Whenever a member of the tribe has performed a good deed, a tribal elder would come forth and sing his praises. So at this time, it is my pleasure to sing praises to the historic memory of George Armstrong Custer, known as Son of the Morning Star, name given to him by his Crow Indian scouts. Well, everyone, look at me. I am Son of the Morning Star. Look at me. Remember me always. Well, everyone, look at me. I am a pony soldier. Chief, look at me. Remember me always. Well, everyone, look at me. I fought the mighty Sioux and Cheyenne. Look at me, remember me always. Aho, aho.
And now we'll have Leland Brock, who plays Crazy Horse, come forward. And Dr. Joe will do a tribute to Crazy Horse.
Will everyone look at me? I am Chief Crazy Horse. Look at me, remember me always. Sunday, go on a chico, hello, we change ya, gone away, hello. Well, everyone, look at me. I fight the pony soldiers. Look at me, remember me always. Aho, aho.
Thank you, Dr. Joe Medicine Grove. Let's give Dr. Joe Medicine Grove a hand. Dr. Joe Medicine Crow is a tribal historian for the Crow tribe. As I said, he wrote the script that you're going to hear today, the narration for the Battle of the Little Bighorn reenactment that we're about to do. He was also honored this past week by the United States Army, given a Bronze Star for his service in World War II. He is a veteran of World War II. He was also given a French award by the French government. And I understand later on this year he will receive the Presidential Freedom Award, one of the highest honor that a civilian can get, next to the Congressional Medal of Honor for Army personnel. So let's give Dr. Joe Medicine Crow another big hand. He's truly a treasure here every year after we reenact it. Now, before we get underway, a couple of things that I need to tell you for your safety's sake. Please, as I mentioned before, stay in the grandstands area during the performance. At the end of the performance, there'll be time to go down in front, meet the reenactors, and have your pictures taken. They'll all remain in the arena area after the performance. So please stay in your seats. Don't come out on the playing floor here during the reenactment. Also, the area underneath the grandstands here in the middle, this pass-through, has been marked off with yellow caution tape. There will be activity coming from under the grandstands in that back area there, horses and such. So please respect the security personnel and don't go between those areas during the performance. Okay? With that, I think we're set to get underway with the performance. Enjoy the performance today, and again, be sure and stick around afterwards and meet the reenactors. Have a good time, folks. Thank you.
early Native American has always revered custom and tradition in his culture. Generations of the Great Plains Indians had a sharp awareness of the past. The preservation of great battles, wars, and disasters were handed down by the elders of the village. Women would teach children of courage, pride, and tradition. This was told in story, song, and dance. There were symbols which related to what would be equivalent to the survival of Indian nations. The medicine lance, even today, we compare it to an act of honor in warfare and to the guidon. To the Plains Indians, the medicine lance held a powerful and sacred significance to the deity. It meant yesterday's remembered and do or die for tomorrow. It is a symbol of foundation for the future. To the Native Americans, the medicine stick is a shield of mysticism with sacred beliefs. Special pause, please, to honor those who died at the Little Bighorn. Let the history and the legend begin.
Just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars.
pleasure we welcome you, on behalf of the Hardin Area Chamber of Commerce and Agriculture, to the dramatization of Custers' Last Stand.
The principles of the epic battle capture the imagination of people of all ages. General George Armstrong Custer, Sitting Bull of the mighty Sioux Nation. Custer, an advancing white civilization, pushing the red man into a shrinking horizon. Sitting Bull, the red chieftain, defiant against the white man's rape of the sacred land of his ancestors. And the Little Bighorn would be the hallowed ground where adversaries would meet. Destiny would choose the victor.
Bloodstained tragedy become the source of endless controversy? Why has the name of General George Armstrong Custer been revered by many and yet reviled by others as one of the all-time losers of military tactics in U.S. history?
The answer depends on your point of view. Our purpose today is to present historical background leading up to that epic battle through the eyes of the Native Americans.
Yonder on the hills, the red and white man met in mortal combat. When the dust and acrid smoke of battle settled and blended into the shadows of twilight, a question was asked. Was this a battle or a massacre?
Did the red men triumph in victory? Or was this a last defiant but futile gesture against the fate from which there would be no tomorrow?
The war cry of the mighty Sioux echoed again and again, foreboding doom.
Hey!
This is a good day to die.
Home to many varied tribes of Indians. The land was also the grazing ground for the roaming herds of buffalo. The Crow chief Arapaho said of his homeland, "The Crow country is a good country. The Great Spirit has put it exactly in the right place. Into this wonderful country, one of the earliest encroachments by the white man was the exploration of Lewis and Clark, who were commissioned to explore and map the Northwest Territory. The expedition began in 1804. By 1805, they had made their way to the confluence of the Missouri and Yellowstone rivers. They camped near the site of what is now Fort Union, hoping to soon find the mythical Northwest Passage. It would be July of 1806 when Clark and Lewis would split their trails, and Clark would find what is now called Pompey's Pillar, originally called Pompey's Tower. Clark was so taken by the beauty of this tower that he left his name written in the stone to show that it was an important piece of the historical trek to the Pacific. In the early days of their trek near Mandan, North Dakota, where they spent their first winter, the explorers engaged an interpreter, a Frenchman by the name of Toussaint Charbonneau.
Charbonneau's Indian wife was Sacagawea. She was born into the Shoshone tribe of western Montana and northern Idaho. She was kidnapped as a child by the Minnetarees of North Dakota and later acquired by Charbonneau and became his favorite consort. It was Sacagawea who made smooth the way of Lewis and Clark into the land of the Western Indians.
My name is Sacagawea. My life was Charbonneau brought me son, Jean-Baptiste. My husband took me along because he realized an Indian woman with child would show that the exploration was not a war party. My knowledge of herbs, roots, and healing medicines of the land were used many times on our journey.
The Lewis and Clark expedition moved farther west on foot until they finally happened upon a Shoshone camp. Here they hoped to barter for horses. Kamaweth, chief of the tribe, welcomed the Pathfinders with ceremony. The conference opened and Sacagawea was sent for to converse more fluently with the tribe. She started to interpret when, in the person of Kamaweth, she recognized her long-lost brother. She instantly embraced him, throwing her blanket over him and weeping profusely.
My brother, my brother.
Captain Clark had a black manservant. York, as he was called, was cause for astonishment among many Indian nations when the white, black, and red cultures met. They had never seen a black man before and would flock around and examine him from head to toe. His skin appeared to have been through a great fire, leaving a charred color that would not rub off. The Indian people were pleased with the black man York, and many women admired him. York would carry on the joke and make himself seem more terrible than Clark and Lewis wished him to be. After the council was concluded, articles of clothing, small metals, blankets, and trade goods were exchanged. The presence of Sacagawea on the westward trek would, time and again, prove invaluable to the Lewis and Clark expedition.
As time passed, the years brought more evidence of the westward movement to Indian territory. I am a descendant of those who lived in the past. I speak for my people, and this narration will be seen through my eyes. I will try to explain the Indian viewpoint, how well we recall the white man's government, promising that this land would be ours forever. Was this not the land of our ancestors? At first, we believed the white man's promises.
Our people walked a different path. Our heart was on survival and family life. Traveling from one camp to another was determined by where the mighty buffalo roamed and along rivers and streams. Where there was buffalo, there was the hide for our clothing and teepees. All parts of the buffalo were used. Meat for food, bones for tools and weapons. We moved to the mountains into the deep canyons to survive the harsh winters. In the spring and summer, we camped on the Great Plains. Selecting a camp to protect our women, children, and elders from constant attacks by our enemies was important. This was done by the warriors.
Our women worked hard, for living was difficult. The women would put up the teepees, cook the meals, cared for the children, and tended the sick. The Plains life was built around family. Though life was hard, we knew that tomorrow's sun would bring a good day.
There are many among us who will pass legend for fact, fiction for truth. But all we ask is that the judgment be made of our convictions and beliefs. The tragedy of Custer was indeed the tragedy of the red man. for controversial battles have no victors.
Romantic adventurers and military buffs will always kindle the fire to stimulate their appetite for those events, which time clouds with distortion. However, the excitement of the military argument is still the basis that makes school children and historians listen with spellbound interest.
In 1863, more pressure was exerted on the Indian tribes when the Bozeman Trail was opened by John Bozeman and John Jacobs. This trail was the road to gold in Montana. It shortened the route to riches by some 400 weary miles. Wagon trains no longer had to cross the backbone of the continent twice. With large numbers of gold-hungry immigrants invading Indian territory, the U.S. government also made its presence known by establishing Fort C.F. Smith, Fort Phil Kearny, and Fort Reno along the trail.
Listen, the tall grass to the east is plowed under by swarms of white men. They are determined to move forward.
Westward ho!
We watched apprehensively as the white men came in their covered wagons. The ruts dug deeply on the bloody Bozeman Trail. These were our sacred lands, and our old and wise men shook their heads with a foreboding prophecy. Trespassing, a matter of concern for all of us, heated discussions took place before the flickering flames of evening campfires. More and more the intruders came. Our uneasiness turned to anger and distrust. Again and again the intruders promised.
We cross in peace through Indian land. We shoot only what's necessary to survive.
Then why? Why do the buffalo vanish?
We're bound for Virginia City where there's gold. That's all we're after.
Then why do our hunters have to go farther and farther in search of food?
Now, there's no need to get contrary. We're just passing through. Just passing through. Jim Bridger secured his place in history by guiding gold-crazed pioneers west on a trail he established. His path broke through the Bighorn Basin.
And now, the buffalo is gone. The quest for gold was strong for the white man. His search for the yellow metal made our placid trails into rutted highways. Wagons followed wagons. There were ambushes and fighting. All the game was disappearing. The predictions of our wise had become a harsh reality. We were doomed.
Laughter and lighter moments in the white man's wagon villages helped ease the tension the invaders surely felt. Ever present for them was an apprehension and fear of being attacked by the Indians, who grew more and more hostile with every white encroachment.
The Sioux who watched were no longer friendly. Alarm turned to hate. No more could the stampeding buffalo be heard. The search for food became desperate. There were days of hunger and cries of our children. No animal hides for clothing to keep the winter out. The watch and wait was over. It was determined that we had to protect and survive. We became cunning and united. Our whispers became a battle cry.
Listen, white men. Listen hard. You bring your fire boats up Elk River. Many of our trees are gone. You say, Red Man, move back. We lend our ears. You tell us you have come in friendship. Yet our young are starving. There is no longer laughter or joy in our villages. We are defiant and we say, no more wagons.
The line has been drawn. There is no going back. Now the white man builds his home on Indian lands. We stand firm, say the pioneers.
Then you shall know the venom of wrath. We cannot walk to the horizon, for it is no longer there. We must defend our way of life. Our young braves will no longer let their future be challenged. We are fighting for survival. Attack! Attack the wagons and destroy! Attack the wagons and destroy! We watch intruders! will. This land is ours forever.
Soldiers arrive on the scene and ward off the defiant warriors. The message is out. The red man is on the warpath. There are fewer and fewer places for him to go. The Indians have less and less land where they can roam freely.
The white man came to bring word of his religion. I remember one in particular, a Jesuit father named Pierre de Smet. The Jesuit order was among the first to bring Christianity to our village. We were wary of the men who came in black robes. We had the Great Spirit. Why did we need the white man's God? The patience of the priest and his stories from the great book impressed us. Black robes came to my village to baptize my new daughter, and there was great joy. We welcomed him with open hearts. He would come for our marriages and often to mourn our dead. Today, there is happiness in the baptismal. Following the rituals of faith, he would say goodbye and would continue on his crusade in the name of God.
Conflicts, raids, and destruction. Massacres, murders, and mutilations were the fate of many, both white and red. Yet there were many attempts to bring peace and reconciliation.
Washington made conciliatory efforts. He sent people like D.B. Mitchell, Superintendent of Indian Affairs. Thomas Fitzpatrick, an old mountain man turned Indian agent, Jim Bridger, and others.
There were great councils in 1825, 1851, and 1868. The council portrayed before us is a representation of all these great meetings and their consequences. The Assiniboine, the Arikaras, Hidatsa, Shoshone, Sioux, Mountain Crow, and Cheyenne came to council. They came with dignity and determination. They came with high hopes.
Mark this day, for our minds are made up. Our chief Red Cloud refuses to negotiate as long as forts along the Bozeman Trail still exist.
The officers are ready to mediate, and they include William T. Sherman, who is best remembered for his successful campaigns during the Civil War. Also appearing are General Philip H. Sheridan, Brigadier General Alfred H. Terry, and General John B. Sanborn, with members of the military staff. One of the difficulties is in translation, but both sides have come well prepared. Mountain men and interpreters lend their skills and knowledge of the Indian tongue to help communicate their differences.
Opposing sides now face each other. The faces are grim. Both groups hope that the meeting will bring peace and understanding. The alternative? Tragedy, chaos, and destruction.
Red Cloud steps forward. He looks at the men about him. His eyes pierce the air with a look of conviction.
Hey, there's your color. I wasn't sure. Wait, the protest protected us over here. Well, Billy Shasata, Kalashisa, Shadako, they must see the work. Well, it's born. Well, they took out the soup. Hey, but you were for it. You know, I know, douches, come on, one time. This year's setup.
I am Red Cloud, head chief of the Sioux. I speak with one tongue. Only a few winters have passed since I smoked the peace pipe with you. The Great White Father in Washington knows that I never broke my word. What about the words of the white man? This is the way you treat your words. You break them all. We were faithfully promised that the Great White Father's children would stay away from the Sioux hunting grounds. Before long, many white men came in with white-topped wagons. They frighten away the game. They come to search for the yellow metal and dig ugly holes in our sacred mountains. We tell the Great White Father to stop, but he has no ears for us. Instead, he sends the pony soldiers to build houses along the medicine roads. Soldiers come to live on the Tongue River, Big Piney Creek, and the Bighorn. They kill our young warriors. You say the white man wants peace? Then prove it. Let him give up the roads and the forts. Why do the white men keep crowding up towards the setting sun, where there is no room to turn?
The Indian has made his point. He spoke with sincerity. It is now that General Sherman will speak for the federal government. The Indians await the translation.
I shall try to be brief and concise with my representation. The government of the United States sends best wishes to our red brothers. Within 90 days, this land will be abandoned as requested, and the roads leading to them closed. No white person will be permitted to settle or occupy any portion of Sioux land or pass through it without the consent of the Sioux governing councils. This is the first time such an agreement has been made, and historical notes later quote Sherman as saying, "There was an error in judgment in trying to make peace with the Indian. They should have been punished and after submitting to the military been turned over to civilian agents. This error has given more victims to savage ferocity. The present system of dealing with the Indians, I think, is an error. Libby Custer had spent a fine morning with her husband. However, as she watched his departure at the head of his column, a sudden premonition of impending disaster overtook her. The story is told that Custer's wife had seen a mirage in which her husband and his men were riding into the distant sky, never to return. The general chided her for having too vivid an imagination. Little did he know what the future would bring.
Chiefs were selected and created for the Hunkpapa group of the Sioux. This innovation was indeed radical to the usual method of warriors becoming chieftains through their war deeds and natural leadership abilities.
Four Horns, the uncle of a man who was destined to be the last great leader of the Red Men, comes forward to turn back time. He faces the council, and there is a respectful silence. He has been a most noble and prestigious leader. He could govern alone, but he is wise and he knows there is need for leadership. He speaks to his people. He speaks, and they listen.
My people, I bring you together that you may witness an important day in the story of the Lakota people. Many winters ago, 4 chiefs were chosen to lead our people. Today, they are no longer with us, and I, Four Horns, stand alone. We are living in difficult times. The white man has again taken that which the Great Spirit has given us. The beaver, the buffalo, the land. Wisdom and courage must meet the challenge of the white invader. They want our land. They want us on reservations. We must have a man who will command our future. I am old and tired. My heart and mind have always been dedicated to giving you the good luck. The aging of man has taken its claim on me. I am no longer able to lead you. Our people need a brave and wise leader to carry this medicine bonnet. There is among us such a man. He is a warrior with many war deeds. He is already a leader of men. He is kind and he is wise. His medicine is good. When he was a young man, you all knew him as Slow. Now you call him Tatanka Iotanka, Sitting Bull. I put this bonnet of eagle feathers upon your head. This is the symbol of a mighty Lakota leader. To one purpose you must be dedicated. You must bring the Lakota bands together as one. You must lead the people along the trail of the good days. If you say make peace, we make peace. If you say fight, we fight.
Between 1868 and 1875, the white man's government tried to keep its word. However, resentment was rekindled with the coming of the railroad and the pounding hooves of the Pony Express as it assailed the ears of the red men. Gold brought a swarm of greedy white invaders into the Black Hills, which were sacred to the Indian. The government warned the trespassers, but then sent Custer on an exploratory expedition that confirmed the rumors of gold and stimulated more treaty violations. To patience and leadership of the Indian chiefs would be challenged. Sitting Bull, the patriarch of the Sioux, could sense a foreboding doom. The reality of broken promises made warriors determined to do battle. Sitting Bull wanted to survive, but with dignity.
Listen! The white man has come to our sacred hills. Their ugly villages fill our valleys. They have destroyed our green lands. There are only echoes of yesterday's buffalo. Soon there will be nothing but the howl of the north wind.
Are we to run like the dogs? They have stolen our lands and killed our women and children. Are we to forever turn our backs because they claim that which is rightfully ours?
We can no longer hold our heads high when we sit in council. We sit like moaning old men, and yet we are warriors. Too many burial scaffolds line our villages, and our women cry. There is sorrow in our hearts. What we must do is sharpen our spears, prepare our tomahawks. The arrows must strike hard and warn the world, yes, the world, that the mighty Lakota will defend his homeland.
It is time for us to beat the drums. The eager warriors will heed our war cry. It will unite our people. We have tried the white man's way, but reservations are not for us. I say the time has come to face our enemy. Show no mercy. Kill the white man.
I have heard your words. Now you shall hear mine. The heart of the Lakota has spoken this day. There will be no more running. We must face our enemies united. The riders are to go and bring the tribes together. We shall fight. We shall win. Our word shall be heard throughout the canyons and mountains. I, Sitting Bull, shall lead our people. I have spoken.
Representatives came from many tribes. Hunkpapa, Oglala, Sansart, Brule, Minikanju, Northern and Southern Cheyenne. The exhilaration could be sensed. It was a brotherhood united by a determination to stand tall with dignity. Women planned and prepared food as more warriors arrived.
The tribes arrived to be counted, and Crazy Horse sits high upon his mount. As he makes his way into camp, Sitting Bull watches for Crazy Horse, who has often criticized him for not moving sooner or faster. Now, it is a sense of belonging, one cause to ensure Indian civilization for tomorrow.
Old friends, the Shoshone, have come, moving about on their ponies, and the air is jubilant. There will be no turning back.
In the most sacred of all ceremonies and rituals, Sitting Bull seeks the solace of the Great Spirit Sitting Bull meditates, for soon his people will face the greatest crisis in their history, survival or destruction. Sitting Bull will shed his blood so that the great father, Hakantaka, will take pity on his people. 100 pieces of skin would be cut from his arms. The blood streamed down. It is a matter of historical record. Sitting Bull went through 2 days of agonizing ritual without food or water. The sting of a hot summer sun added to the pain.
He prayed for help and guidance. He sought wisdom. He had a dream of victory. He had a dream of hope. He realized that the sands that measured the future were running out. No dramatization could tell the innermost thoughts of the Sioux holy man. Would it be the end of his people, or would it be a great victory? Weak but firm, he stood up and called to his people.
I come to you, my people, with the words of the Great Spirit. I have been in retreat for the purity of mind. During that time, I had a vision. I had a vision of the horse soldiers. They were riding upside down. And the Great Spirit said, I give you these because they have no ears.
The village cheers his words. Crazy Horse is among those who look and praise Sitting Bull. Crazy Horse feels that Sitting Bull has finally listened to his advice, but wonders if the actions come too late. Crazy Horse knows the horse soldiers are many, but he senses the Sioux and Cheyenne must do one thing: win beyond all costs.
The pendulum swings. 2 scouts, or wolves, as they were called by the Indians, go to seek out the locations of the horse soldiers. They will signal the tribes when and if they see the enemy.
Actors for June 25th, 1876 are waiting in the wings. Yet one of the most important participants has not been mentioned. General George Armstrong Custer. Custer surveyed the scene. He decided that his regiment was to be divided into 3 segments. 1, he would send men under the command of Major Marcus Reno, who was to attack the village from the southern end. 2, he had already sent scouts to search the valley for more Indians, led by Captain Frederick Benteen. 3, Custer himself would attack from the north.
Sitting Bull, defender of the old way of life, remained in the village. Isaiah Dorman, a black civilian scout, accompanied Reno's detachment. Sitting Bull considered the black man to be magical and sought to protect him. But in the heat of the battle, Sitting Bull was spirited away from the main fighting by his compatriots. Without the protection of the revered holy man, Dorman met his death at the hands of the angry warriors.
Custer's military strategy would be questioned and silenced by some of his officers. However, they were trained under military authority to accept without question the commands of their superiors. Just follow through as ordered.
Reno's regiment was repulsed by the swarm of Indians, and he retreated to a hilltop some distance away, where he was held at bay for nearly 2 days.
Reno, desperate and nearly out of ammunition, found there was no time to reform his ranks, and with warriors in hot pursuit, he led his men across the river and up the steep gorges of the uneven terrain. It had all seemed so easy, but the Indians had trapped them in the village and were routing them without mercy. Many warriors then turned and headed toward the ridge where they would ultimately meet Custer and his men.
Meanwhile, the Indian riders were alerted to Custer and his movements. They zigzagged their way back, which signaled everyone that Yellow Hair was ready to attack. While the women cared for the children and elderly in the teepees, the warriors took to their ponies, mounting a charge of their own, meeting the oncoming soldiers head on.
Onward! To Little Big Horn! And glory!
Custer and his troops galloped in the direction of what he thought would be a quick and easy victory. But fate was not in his corner that day. The black shroud of death awaited him and his men.
Indian warriors circled the trapped Custer group, and when the fighting subsided, the red men, led by Crazy Horse, were victorious. Many chiefs will be remembered for the battle. Gall, Crazy Horse, and Low Dog of the Sioux all will take their place in history. Cheyenne chiefs like Two Moons and Lame White Man will also be remembered.
The tactics of the Indians were exactly those that Custer himself had hoped to employ against them. The troops were outnumbered and outmaneuvered, which was not realized by the 7th Cavalry until it was too late.
Warriors swarmed among the soldiers, attacking with clubs, arrows, and bullets. The horses were frightened by blood-curdling battle cries, gunfire, and waving blankets, leaving no cover for the vulnerable troops caught in the inevitable crossfire.
The Sioux, with a reputation as the fiercest tribe of the Plain Indians, would not be deterred. The Battle of the Little Bighorn was their supreme moment. Never before had they been so united, nor so ably led. Never would they be again.
The battle commenced around 3 in the afternoon. In less than an hour it was over. By evening, the entire Indian village along the river was dismantled and deserted.
Hot winds blow the sand over the blood-soaked, trampled hills, nudging the sparse grass across the boots of the fallen men, fluttering their bandanas in the silence of the barren hills. The dark smoke mingles with the bite of the gunpowder. As the dust settles, a lone horse sniffs the ground for food and a familiar hand. The red man has survived. He has had his moment of victory. He can stand proudly and command greatness.
For the Indian, this was a battle not for death, but for life. Crazy Horse and his people feel vindicated and free of the past. The day he has prayed for has become a reality. No longer will his warriors feel like old women. For now, they have had the sweet taste of victory. crazy horse that brought dignity to the red man.
On the hill, amid the smoke and smell of death, a man, a leader, lay dead. Some of the Mountain Crow tribe will mourn for him. Some of our men were his scouts, and we rode into the woods at his side to hunt the bear, the wildcat, and the deer. Some of us thought of him as a great man, a military genius, but we knew that day was to be his downfall.
The news that there were no survivors atop Custers Ridge reached the east as it was celebrating the centennial of the United States. A young, proud nation had one of its proudest regiments killed.
Atop the ridge, amidst the plains, lay bodies. Why did they die? What was there that would indicate this day would end for so many? On a battlefield of blood? What was the moment of heroic conviction which both sides gave their most treasured gift of life itself?
War women of the victorious red man came up the gullies and slopes along the ridge beside the Little Bighorn. The women directed youths of the tribe in the rituals of stripping the bodies lying in the hot June sun. In this battle of the Little Bighorn, there were no victors.
George Armstrong Custer was dead. So were his brothers Tom and Boston Custer. His 18-year-old nephew Harry Armstrong Reed, who had come along for the adventure, also perished, as did over 200 troopers. Ironically, Sitting Bull's vision granted eerie validation to Libby Custer's premonition.
The red man shall always remember June 25th, 1876. We hope we have given you the highlights of the Indian viewpoint. History cannot be changed. We red man and white man live in a united fortress of democracy. That means we shall see you again in the Crow language. You are always welcome in Crow land. May God guide you as you journey home.
Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night
Last Stand is based on an historical outline by Dr. Joe Medicine Crow titled Historia. The show is produced under the direction of Dave Riley by the Hardin Area Chamber of Commerce Reenactment Committee. General Chairman of Custers Last Stand is Barbara Dayer.